Good morning, children. I am Mrs. Sangeeta Soni from Atomic Energy Central School number 4, Mumbai. I am a chemistry PGT and today we will be performing qualitative analysis or salt analysis of a given sample of salt for 11th standard. The same procedure can be followed even for 12th standard of CBSE syllabus. Good morning, children. Welcome to the chemistry lab. Since you are 11th standard children, you are coming for the first time to the lab. You have done some experiments in the class? Yes, very good. You have done some experiments. Now we will do the next part of your syllabus, and that is qualitative analysis. Now any chemistry lab, there are two types of analysis which you can do. One is quantitative analysis and the other is qualitative analysis. Quantity means you will find the amount and quality means you will find what it is. And therefore now this part of your experimentation talks about qualitative analysis. Now in that we have the first type which we have to do is the salt analysis. Now I will give a demonstration of the salt analysis to you. What is a salt first? A salt is a combination of two ions, cation and anion. This you have studied in 9th and 10th standard. But when you come to 11th, the term cation and anion get replaced by basic radical and acidic radical. So basically our salt will consist of basic radicals which are positively charged cations and acidic radicals which are negatively charged anions. There are a number of cations and anions in the periodic table, and when we make the salt out of these, we will get different types of salts, and for each salt the procedure required for analyzing the cation and anion will differ. Now to make it convenient for us to study so many cations and anions, we will be dividing our cations and anions into certain groups which can be identified by a particular reagent, and that is called as the groups reagent. This we will discuss later. Now first we will start with the demonstration. Now during the demonstration you should know what is the aim of your experiment. The aim of your experiment is to analyze and identify the basic and acidic radicals present in the given salt. Now you will be given a salt sample in a watch glass or on a paper, and you have to use this salt to analyze what is the basic and acidic radical in the given salt. What is the apparatus you will require for this experiment? You will be requiring test tube stand, test tube, glass rod, brush, a test tube holder, funnel, watch glass, platinum wire, filter paper, the chemicals required are depending on the salt, but the most commonly used chemicals will be some acids, dilute bases like NaOH and NH4OH, and some salts like ammonium chloride, barium nitrate, barium chloride, etc. Now let us start with the actual procedure which is to be followed for salt analysis. Okay children, now we will start the procedure for the experiment to analyze the cation and anion. Like I said, you will use a Bunsen burner. You will require a test tube stand with test tubes, a watch glass, funnel, test tube holder, platinum wire. This you have to purchase. Platinum wire and a glass rod for stirring. These are the apparatus. Now all the chemicals which we will be requiring are kept on the table here. Okay, we understood what is a salt. Now let us go to the procedure. In the procedure, you will have to follow the following steps. First is preliminary test. followed by dry test for cation, then dry test for anion, result from dry test. This will make one part of your experiment to be credited with marks. Then comes preparation of original solution, commonly called as OS. Then you have to use this OS and perform the wet test for cation and wet test for anion. This performs the credits the second part of your marking scheme. And then the final result is the total marks which you will be given based on your analysis. So your complete experiment will be divided into three parts. First is preliminary test, second is dry test, and third is wet test. So the complete procedure is divided into 8 parts. After that, let us start performing the experiment. So when you are performing the experiment, you need to make a observation and inference from what you are performing, and therefore you will need a tabular column for your procedure. So the tabular column will consist of 3 columns: experiment, observation and inference. So in preliminary test, you will be performing 3 experiments. One is the nature of the salt given to you, whether it is amorphous or crystalline. Generally amorphous salts are not given, so all the salts given to you are crystalline. Next is the color. Now your salt can be colorless, which is white, or it can have any color. So depending on the color which you observe in the salt given to you, you have to make that observation. And accordingly you have to infer. Like you know that when you look at copper sulfate, it is blue in color. So if you get a blue colored salt, that means copper ion is present. So that is a small amount of hint which you will get depending on the color of the salt. But most of the salts are colorless. So you will not be able to decide which salt it is. So you will simply write the salts of chlorides, halides or nitrates, etc. are colorless. Now odor. Generally in chemistry lab you are not supposed to smell any chemical. This is a standard rule. But there is one particular salt which gives us characteristic odor, and that is why it is given that you have to note the odor. Now that also you cannot take the sample and put it near your nose. You have to take a pinch of salt on your palm, rub it with your thumb, and then smell your thumb or the palm. And then if you get some particular odor, then you will know that the salt may contain this particular specific cation. So this is a preliminary test. Now we will perform the preliminary test and the second test, which is the dry test for cation. Now in dry test for cation, you have to do heating in a dry test tube. You have to take totally dry test tube and take a pinch of salt in it and heat it. And observe what all changes are occurring. Now what can be the changes occurring? Whether your salt is vaporizing, whether the color of your residue is changing, whether you are able to get a sublimate, whether the salt is swelling. So many changes you will observe. So when you are doing dry heating, you have to observe the base of the test tube. Okay, after that there is another specific test for cations, and that is the flame test. After that, you will have to perform dry test for anions. Now, dry test for anions will depend on the group reagent. All the anions are grouped into 3 reagents. One is dilute sulfuric acid, another is concentrated sulfuric acid, and third one is individual tests for the anions because they cannot be identified by any specific reagent. So, we will follow this procedure stepwise. That's why I have written the steps in the procedure here, and I have shown you a sample of how you have to write your journal or your record book for salt analysis. So your procedure will consist of 3 columns: experiment, observation and inference. For every experiment you will write what all you have performed. For every observation you will write what all you have observed, and you can draw the inference from it. If you are able to do it by yourself, very good. If you are not able to do it, in your handbook he has given the inference. So you can make a note from there for the inference. Now let us start performing the experiment, and as I am performing, you can note down and you can see the procedure which is being followed. Now let us start with the preliminary test and dry test. Now for preliminary test, first we should take the salt. So the salt is given either in a watch glass or in a plastic bottle, or it may be given on a paper. So just take this sample and see what is the color. So you can see it's a colorless salt. So in your observation table, which you have made previously, you make a note that in preliminary test, the color of the salt is colorless. Now what is the nature? To know the nature, you just take a pinch of salt and rub it on your palm. If it is like crystalline, like sugar crystals, when you take powdered sugar also you will feel some crystalline nature like that, then it is a crystalline substance. If it is like talcum powder, it will be amorphous. But as I told you, amorphous salts are not there in your syllabus. So only crystalline salts. So the nature is crystalline. Now odor, we cannot smell directly, I told you. So I have just rubbed some salt on my palm. I am just going to smell it. If I get the smell of ammonia, we are all familiar with it. There is no smell of ammonia. And therefore, the salt does not have any odor. So your nature is crystalline, color is colorless, and the odor is odorless. So preliminary test is over with this. Now we have to go for dry test of cation. For that, we need one dry test tube. We need a test tube holder and the sample salt. So I take some sample salt into the test tube. Hold the test tube at the neck. Hold the test tube at the neck. Don't hold it here in the center or at the bottom like this. This is not correct way of holding the test tube. It should be held somewhere near the neck. And then make it tight so that it doesn't slip out, and then heat it in the flame. This is a non-luminous blue flame. If I turn it, it will become luminous orange flame, which I don't require when I do my salt analysis. I require this non-luminous flame. Now heat it in the outer edge of the non-luminous flame. Heat it strongly. On strong heating, what all you observe, you see. Can you see the salt bloating? Can you hear that crackling sound? See how the salt has bloated. Can you see? And you can see droplets of water, and you can see some water droplets escaping. So this is the observation of your dry test. What all did you observe? You saw water droplets on the side of the test tube. You saw some colorless vapors. You saw that your sample salt has bloated and the residue is white bloated salt. These are the observations of your dry test. Now don't wash it immediately, otherwise you have heated it so strongly the test tube will break. So just keep it for cooling and later you can wash it. Remove the holder from the test tube. Now let us go for the second test. What all can be inferred from what you have observed is available in your handbook. What did you observe? You observed that the salt has bloated, the residue is white bloated substance, there were colorless vapors and there was droplets of water on the sides of the test tube, and you also observed that there was some sound when you were heating the test tube. Now we have to go for the second test, which is the flame test. To perform the flame test, you require a platinum wire. Now this platinum wire is available in the market in the form of wire separately and this handle. So the wire has to be fixed into this handle. So just insert it into this hole and tighten it. Now your platinum wire is ready. Make a loop of the platinum wire at the open end so that you can take the sample. The sample has to be taken on. This sample is your salt. Now, to perform the flame test, you will require a platinum wire. You will require a watch glass. you will require a glass rod and concentrated HCl. Now why do you require concentrated HCl and why not concentrated H2SO4 or nitric acid? Is because the salts when treated with concentrated HCl form the chlorides, and chlorides are volatile substances, and therefore we can easily check the color change in the flame when we use concentrated HCl. So small amount of sample is taken on the watch glass, clean dry watch glass. 2 to 3 drops of concentrated HCl are added. With the help of a glass rod, paste is made. Don't touch it with your hand, just make a paste with the glass rod. Now, on the loop of the platinum wire, take the sample. Can you see the sample on the loop of the platinum wire? Now introduce it into the outer edge of the non-luminous flame and see the color change in this. Why we are doing this test? Because we know that cations contain valence electrons, and these valence electrons, when they get excited, they absorb some energy, and when they are coming down to the lower energy level, they will release the complementary color of the energy absorbed, and therefore there is a change in the color of the flame. But with this particular one, salt which is given to us, there was no color change in the flame. It is remaining the same. But instead I have seen a bloated ball-like structure being formed. A balloon-like bloated structure. Bead is formed. Now this is a hint that your salt may contain aluminium ion. The same thing you got when you did the dry test also. Your salt bloated on heating. Same way here also on the platinum wire, it has bloated on heating, forming a bead-like structure. It's not exactly a bead, but it is a full-blown bead-like structure. So this is the indication that your salt, which is giving colorless flame with the flame test, is containing aluminium ion. So this ends the dry test for cations. Now let us go for the dry test for anions. Now anions are many. They are grouped into 3 groups. One is called the dilute HCl group, another is the concentrated H2SO4 group, and third one is individual tests. Now sometimes in CBSE syllabus we use dilute H2SO4, concentrated H2SO4 and individual tests. So now we will perform the dry test for anions. The first test is I have to take a small amount of salt in a dry test tube and add dilute H2SO4. Now, if your salt contains a carbonate with dilute acid, it will give brisk effervescence of carbon dioxide. And if you are getting a brisk effervescence of carbon dioxide, it means that your salt contains carbonate ion. So let us check whether we are getting some effervescence by taking small amount of salt in this and adding dilute sulfuric acid to it. In the lab you have to be very careful when you are using acids and all, therefore lab coat is a must. And holding the test tube with the holder is also compulsory. Now I am using a dilute H2SO4 into the salt sample in the test tube. Are you able to see any effervescence? There is no effervescence. So this salt does not contain carbonate ion. So carbonate is absent because there is no brisk effervescence. What do you mean by brisk effervescence? Pepsi या cola के bottle को हिला के when you open it, you will get lot of froth, isn't it? That is effervescence, brisk effervescence. So that carbon dioxide is giving that, and therefore this is not present in your sample given to you now. So carbonate is absent. Now I go to the group 2 which is the concentrated H2SO4 group. In concentrated H2SO4 group, you have halides, nitrate. These are the two anions which can be present in the second group, which is the concentrated H2SO4 group. Now, halides can be chloride, bromide or iodide. Let us see which radical is present in our salt. So, let us take another test tube and add small amount of salt to it. Now, since I am using concentrated acid, I have to use the holder. With the help of the holder from the concentrated sulfuric acid dropper, very gently add around 10 to 15 drops of concentrated acid and observe if you are getting any colorless vapors. Are there any vapors which you are seeing? No vapors. That means chloride, which gives colorless vapors, is absent. Maybe little warming can give some vapors. Now on warming also I am not getting any vapors. That means nitrate is also absent. I can confirm this by adding small amount of copper turnings to the salt, and if your solution turns bluish green with evolution of reddish brown vapors, nitrate will be present. So I have added a pinch of copper turnings. So your solution is not turning blue and the color of your vapors is also not reddish brown. They are colorless vapors and solution is not turning blue. That means nitrate is absent. Halides are also absent. Now, when both the groups are absent, what is remaining? Individual tests. So now let us perform the individual tests for the anion. Now, for the anion, to perform the individual test, you cannot perform it in solid state. You have to dissolve it and take the solution. So, let us prepare small amount of solution of the sample given to us by using some water. Keep the thumb on the mouth of the test tube and shake it. You will get a clear solution. So your OS is ready. Now I will transfer this into two test tubes. To one test tube, I will add dilute sulfuric acid. If I get a white PPT, it confirms presence of sulfate. No PPT. Now, in another test tube, I will add small amount of barium chloride or barium nitrate, whichever is available. Any barium salt can be added, and you see if you are getting a white precipitate. You got a white precipitate? This confirms presence of sulfate ion in your salt. Now, the next test by which I can confirm whether my salt really contains sulfate or not is to add to the OS small amount of lead acetate. So here itself I can finish the confirmatory test for sulfate. I have done barium chloride, barium nitrate, and now I am doing lead acetate test. White PPT confirms presence of sulfate. Now you will say, teacher, some other anion can also give white precipitate. Yes, it can give. Carbonate can give white precipitate with lead acetate or with barium chloride or with barium nitrate. So I can confirm whether it is sulfate or carbonate by just adding small amount of dilute nitric acid. If the PPT dissolves, it is carbonate, otherwise it is sulfate. So I am not getting any PPT is remaining intact, and therefore this is conformation of sulfate radical in my salt. With this, we wind up with the dry test. Now before you finish the dry test, you have to report the result from dry test. And what is the result you have concluded from the dry test? That your salt contains aluminium ion as cation and sulfate ion as anion. Next we will go for preparation of OS and performance of wet test. So we will start with the wet test. To do the wet test, we have to prepare the original solution. So I have taken around 1 inch sample so that I can prepare a saturated solution. Now this sample I have to dissolve in distilled water to prepare the original solution. So I am taking some water in another container. Then add about half test tube of water to the sample you have taken. Shake it well till you get a clear solution. Keep the thumb on the mouth of the test tube and give it a vigorous shake. So as you shake, your sample will get dissolved. In case you find that your sample is not dissolving properly, you can use the glass rod to break the pieces of the salt. Now our OS is ready. So you can see a clear solution. OS is ready. Now using test sample from this is called as TS. So just 1 ml you have to transfer into another test tube. 1 ml is approximately this much. So just 1 ml you transfer into the another test tube and use it as your test sample to perform the test which is to be done to identify your cation and anion. From dry test you already got a hint what your cation and anion will be. What is the cation? Aluminium ion. And what is the anion? Sulfate ion. So first we will perform the test for sulfate ion because it is an independent radical, and so we can directly do the sulfate test. Already when we do independent test we have identified it. Now we will do the confirmatory test. For confirmation of sulfate ion, you need to add barium chloride or barium nitrate to your OS, and in case you are getting a white PPT which is insoluble in dilute acid, then sulfate ion is confirmed. Now I have taken in 2 test tubes approximately 1 ml of around solution of salt which we have prepared the OS. To this to one I am adding barium nitrate and to the other I am adding barium chloride. Now let us see what happens. Look at the bottom of the test tube. Observe it. Just 1 or 2 drops. I have added barium nitrate. So what has happened? I have got a white PPT. Now whether it is sulfate or carbonate, both give white PPT. So to confirm it, I need to add little dilute nitric acid. If the PPT dissolves, it is carbonate. If the PPT does not dissolve, it is sulfate. So look at the PPT at the bottom of the test tube. I am adding nitric acid. Has your PPT dissolved? No. That means this is confirmation of sulfate ion. Similarly, I will add barium chloride. When you are keeping the lid of the bottle, it has to be kept like this. Don't keep it ulta. When you keep your hand, it will burn you then. So just add 1 or 2 drops of barium chloride. Can you see the white PPT now? Now again test it with dilute nitric acid. If the PPT is soluble, it is carbonate. If the PPT is insoluble, it is sulfate. So your PPT is insoluble. You will say, teacher, you did not shake. Okay, I am shaking it. So in spite of shaking, you see the PPT is retained and therefore sulfate ion is confirmed. This is the wet test for the anion. Now we will go for wet test of cation. Now from dry test we already know that our salt contains aluminium ion. So the wet test of cation has to be performed in a systematic manner using the group reagent table, and the group analysis has to be done because number of cations are there. We can follow a simple procedure of group analysis. Thereby we will get confirmation whether aluminium is really present in our salt or not. So the first thing is I will use 1 ml of OS. To this I will add dilute HCl, which is the group reagent of the first group. Just 1 or 2 drops to see if I am getting any precipitate. This is a group 1 reagent, dilute HCl. There is no PPT, that means group 1 is absent. To the same thing, now I need to add H2S gas. Now H2S gas is little poisonous and lot of odor, rotten egg smell is there. So what we do is we generally use H2S water. So we have passed the H2S gas in water and this is H2S water. When I add a drop or 2 of this H2S water to my solution, if I get a black PPT, group 2 is present. There is no black PPT. So group 1 is absent, group 2 is also absent. Now what are the radicals in group 1? Lead and silver, both are absent. Radicals in group 2 are copper, which is also absent. Now I will go for group 3. The radicals in group 3 are identified by a precipitate formation with ammonium chloride and ammonium hydroxide, which is the group reagent. So I will add solid ammonium chloride in excess till I get that smell of ammonia. So you have to continue the process like this. You don't have to throw your solution. Just keep adding to the same thing till you get the precipitate. So now I am adding ammonium chloride in excess to my salt solution. Some amount of chloride is remaining, and when you touch the test tube, you will find it very cold. Pani, ice, water, if you see how cold it is like that. That means ammonium chloride, when it dissolves in water, it's an endothermic reaction. You will study about it later. So it is taking heat from the surrounding, so the surrounding is becoming cooler. So there is nothing happening to this now. So now I am adding ammonium hydroxide to already salt solution containing ammonium chloride. Can you see the white PPT now? Gelatinous white PPT, jelly-like. This is confirmation in the group separation table that your salt contains aluminium ion. Can you see the jelly-like precipitate? Very nice, isn't it? So you add little more of ammonium hydroxide so that you get a thicker jelly, and then you have to filter this and proceed for the confirmation. Now you have just identified it. So your identification shows that your radical is aluminium ion, which gives a gelatinous white precipitate with ammonium chloride and ammonium hydroxide. To go further, we have to filter this solution. To filter the solution, I will need a clean test tube, a funnel and filter paper. Now how to use the filter paper? First you fold it half, exactly. Then you fold it quarter. Now 3/4 you keep on one side and 1/4 you take on the other side. So 3/4 I have kept on one side and 1/4 on the other side. Now you keep it to the test. In the funnel you keep it. Then just take some amount of water and pour it over it such that the filter paper gets stuck to your funnel, and throw away the water. You can sprinkle water also. So now I have removed all the water in this, and now I will filter my white gelatinous precipitate. So when I filter, you can see the clean liquid at the bottom. This is the remnant solution of your precipitate. The precipitate will be collected on the filter paper, and this liquid is remaining at the bottom. This is the filtrate liquid. Now this is of no use to us. We use only the precipitate. We have to wait for the solution to precipitate completely. Now my precipitate has settled in the filter paper. I will remove it from the funnel. Put it on my palm. Open the filter paper gently. Take a clean test tube and take the white precipitate, jelly-like precipitate collected on the paper. Without tearing the filter paper, just transfer. Can you see this now? I have transferred the jelly-like white precipitate into the test tube. Now this I have to use as the I have to dissolve it in water, minimum amount of dilute HCl, just minimum, so that it will just dissolve. I don't have to add anything more. Just 1 or 2 drops and then shake it. If you add excess, your PPT which you do the confirmatory test may not be correctly coming. So you just gently dissolve your PPT in dilute HCl. Now it is a clear solution. There is no jelly-like thing remaining in the solution. To this clear solution now divide it into 2 parts. So totally I have got now 3 parts, original with 2 more. So total I have divided my solution into 3 parts. To the first part, now whatever test tubes you are not using, you can just wash them and keep it. To the first part of the solution which I have prepared, I will add NaOH. First I will add just 1 drop. You see at the bottom what is happening. Can you see again the jelly? See the jelly. Okay, now I am adding excess. What has happened to the jelly? In excess of NaOH, the jelly has dissolved. Now why it is dissolving? You have studied this in your 10th standard with respect to aluminium. Sodium meta-aluminate. This is formed here. It's a soluble salt. So when you added first small amount of sodium hydroxide, you got the gelatinous precipitate of aluminium hydroxide. When you added excess of NaOH, the gelatinous PPT dissolved in the excess of reagent and formed a soluble salt, sodium meta-aluminate. This is first confirmatory test of your aluminium ion. Now the second test is blue litmus test. To this I am just adding 2 or 3 drops of blue litmus. It is turning red, isn't it? So what does this confirm? That means the aluminium hydroxide precipitate which you got is basic in nature. So to the second part we had added blue litmus and it turned red. Now I am again adding ammonium hydroxide to the same thing. Now you observe what happens. As I add excess, can you see the blue lake? Something is floating in that blue color. This is called as the blue lake test, which is the confirmatory test for aluminium ion. Now the last part of that we have taken. To this we have to add cobalt nitrate solution. Since the solution itself is pink, your solution will turn pink. Cobalt nitrate is pink in color, so it will turn pink. And then you add some amount of NaOH. Again, are you seeing the blue precipitate? A blue mass like, see, this is different from this. The floating lake is different from this. This is a blue mass, whereas this is a floating lake. It is floating, whereas this is settling down. See the difference between the cobalt nitrate test and the lake test. So 3 tests you have to do for confirmation of aluminium ion. One is you added NaOH, you got a gelatinous precipitate, then you added excess, so the gelatinous precipitate dissolved. Then next is you added blue litmus and then you added again NH4OH, so you got a floating lake, blue color lake, and that is called the lake test. And then you did the cobalt nitrate test where you took cobalt nitrate solution and added NaOH, you got a blue mass. So these 3 are the confirmatory tests for the aluminium ion. With this you have finished with the wet test for anion as well as cation. You have confirmed presence of sulfate by getting insoluble precipitates of barium chloride and barium nitrate, and you have confirmed the presence of aluminium by NaOH test, lake test and cobalt nitrate test. And sulfate ion, we have confirmed the presence of aluminium ion and sulfate ion. So now we have to report the final result. What is the final result? The cation present in the given salt is aluminium. The anion present is sulfate. So the salt is aluminium sulfate and the formula of the compound is Al2SO4 taken 3 times.